Dangal greetings everyone. I'm Delviti Asansa, one of the reporters for today. Kanina, diniscuss ni Maria Mulabie, Paporto, yung pagkakaiba ng second 2D and 3D image. At diniscuss niya din kung ano yung visual arts at yung mga nilalaman na hanggang types of dances. So ngayon, nadako naman tayo sa literary arts. So ano ba yung literary arts? So it is the integrative discipline of ideation, literary apprehension, and multi-creative writing. And written words, which include editing, critiquing, reviewing, and other activities related in writing. For example is fiction and non-fiction, poetry, scriptwriting, and novels. Pag sinabi nating literary art, it as expression of ideas through writing. Many types of literary arts can be categorized to poetry, prose, and drama. Here are some of examples of literary arts. First is El Filibustrismo of our national hero, Dr. Jose Rizal. Isa ito sa libro na naisulat ni Dr. Jose Rizal na dinidikit niya ito sa tatlong martyr na pare. Ito ay sila Mariano Gomez, Jose Burgos, at Jacinto Zamora. He expressing the conviction that their treatment and deaths at the hands of the Spanish authorities were unjust. And the second one, is above all quotes, is also excellent example of literary arts. At alam nyo ba na ang famous quotes niya ay, sa paglipas ng panahon, maging ang mga crush ng bayan ay nagmumukha ding pandesal. Maniwala ka! Alam nyo sa mga hindi kina-crush wag dyan, o aminin, and theater, it is collaborative form of fine arts concerned almost live performance in which the action is precisely planned to create a coherent and significant sense of drama. Done by live performers, typically actors or actresses, to present the experience of a real or imagined event before a live audience in a specific place, often in a stage. So, alam ko naman sa sarili ninyo na alam niyo yung ibig sabihin ng theater, no? Theater, it is an art form of presentation. Tandaan nyo yan, ha? Where scripts are represented on stage by actor and actresses, kung saan piniperform nila ito sa harap ng audience at nakikita din nila kung gaano sila kahusay sa pag-arte. Alam nyo na. And the next one is we have a different types of theater production. Alam niyo yan. First one is a musical theater. Alam ko naman sa inyo na alam niyo na ang musical theater dahil napanood niyo natin yung Les Miserables, napanood nyo na din yung huling El Bimbo. So, ano nga ba ang musical theater? It is a form of theatrical performance or form of dramatic production combining acting, singing, and dancing to tell a story. Ganyan yung nangyayari sa musical theater. O, diba? Multitasking kayo. Umaarte na, kumakanta, at sumasayaw pa. At hindi lang yan, may spoken dialogue pa. One of the example nga niyan, yung sinabi ko kanina, is Les Miserables and ang huling El Bimbo. And the second one is a French theater. Ano nga ba yan? Ito yung example ko. Nakikita niyo dyan. It is a theater that is produced outside of the main theater institution. And that is often small scales and non-traditional in style or subject matter. Iba ito sa musical theater, pakakatandaan ha, iba ito sa musical theater na piniperform nila sa loob ng theater. Ito kasi ay piniperform siya sa labas, na located sa iba't ibang lugar sa New York. The term of French theater comes from Edinburgh Festival French. And the next one is melodrama are subgenre of a drama films characterized by a plot that appeals to the heightened emotion of the audience. No? that they generally depend on the stereotype, character development, interaction, and highly emotional themes. No? The terms from the Greek melos means music and the drama from which we also get the word dramatic. For example na lang, ay Octron in 1859, I mean. And the fourth one is comedy, no? Alam niyo naman yan ang comedy, no? Meron ako diyang example, hayan. Hello, I'm Darling by Lara Waite, 2018, no? Ang comedy depend on a stereotype character development, interaction, and highly emotional themes. And the goal is to make audience laugh. Malamang kaya nga comedy, di ba? The fifth types of theater production is tragedy. Oh, alam niyo naman ang tragedy. Oh, alam niyo na yan. Diyos ko, maiiyak talaga kayo diyan. So, ito, ang ibig sabihin is a serious drama typically describing a conflict between the protagonist and a superior force, and the having a sorrowful or disastrous conclusion that elicits pity or terror. No, the genre is to explore human suffering without providing a happy ending to wrap it all up. So, the one of example is Romeo and Juliet. Ayan. No? Kung saan namatay dyan sa kwento si Juliet at as ang naging author nito pala ay si William Shakespeare at alam na alam nyo yan. No? And we have a historic place and historic place. So, next, we have the last but not the least, so applied arts, and all arts that apply design and decoration to everyday and essentially practical objects in order to make them aesthetically pleasing in the eyes. So, ibig sabihin, pleasing to the eye, this can be included, but definitely isn't limited to furniture, carpets, architecture, jewelry, metalworks, and pottery. So, applied arts as a purpose, meron siyang silbi, no? It's decorative, so it's pleasing to the eye. That is considered art, no? Kino-considered pa rin siyang art, but sometimes tinatawag nilang craft siya because it's actually serves a practical purpose, not just merely to be looked at. So, summary up, no? Kung nakikinig kayo, no? O summary up, pag sinabing literary art, it is an expression of ideas through writing. Many types of literary artworks can be categorized to poetry, prose, and drama. O, ang literary arts, may mga dalawang example akong binigay sa inyo. Yun yung El Filibusterismo at yung kay Bang Ong quotes. No? And the other one is theater. So, ano nga ba yung theater ulit? Ang theater, it is a collaborative form of fine art concerned almost live performance in which the action is precisely planned to create a coherent and significant sense of drama. So, we have a different types of theater production. Ano-ano nga yun? So, we have a musical theater, fringe theater, melodrama, comedy, and the other one is a tragedy and historic plays and plays. And the last one, but not the least, is applied arts. Ano nga ulit yung applied arts? It is design and decoration to everyday and essentially practical objects in order to make them aesthetically pleasing in the eyes. Oh, I hope na naintindihan nyo ang na-discuss ko kanina. So, we are going to philosophical importance of art. So, may I call Nicole Franz Reyes to discuss this.
So the next one would be the philosophical importance of art. So we have here three philosophical importance of art. So the first one would be the integrity. The second one is proportion, and the third one is clarity. So let's have first the integrity. So integrity is present when the thing has all that makes up its substance. So in other words, integrity refers to a thing's completeness, wholeness, or togetherness. So integrity is defined as an object that possesses all qualities necessary which express its essence. So yung pag sinabi nating integrity, ito daw yung completeness, yung wholeness ng isang bagay, ng isang tao, or ng isang piece or ng artwork. Yun. So in Aquinas usage, the concept of integrity describes an integrated whole with nothing missing. A whole person consists of body, mind, and spirit. So, ayun nga daw, sabi nga daw ni Aquinas, na ang concept of integrity is that it describes the whole with nothing missing. So, like a whole person that has a body, mind, and also spirit. So, and also, Aquinas, as a realist, he believes that there is a universal form being actualized in each and every particular being. So, sinasabi niya doon na there's a universal form that each particular being has. So, like for example, a person has integrity if her being is an adequate realization of a human form, or it has integrity, yun, may integrity yung isang tao kapag kompleto yung body parts niya, kung walang nawawala. So, kung may nawala man, so a deformed man in this sense lacks integrity. Kung may nawala man or may kulang man dun sa human form or yun nga, sa form ng isang tao na yun, it means he or she lacks integrity daw. That it was according to Aquinas. Okay, so the next one, proportion. So proportion is largely about the relationship of the size of one element when compared to another. So etong proportion, familiar naman tayo dito since aralan natin siya dun sa principles of art or principles of design. So when we say proportion, it talks about the size being compared to one another. So like for example, the picture in here, di ba? Kung nakikita ninyo, yung sisiw tsaka yung tao. So kung napapansin ninyo, yung size nila magkaiba, di ba? Mas malaki yung sisiw kumpara mo dun sa tao. So there's a proportion in it. So what is the purpose of proportion is that it gives impact to the viewer's perspective. Kung ano yung nakikita nila. It may be unrealistic kasi nga bakit mas malaki yung sisiw kumpara mo dun sa tao. But then, it uses proportion nga. Yun yung sinasabi. So, the next one, when drawing or painting realistically, proportion is important. If the proportions are incorrect, then the resulting image will look realistic or less realistic or abstracted. So, yun nga doon sinasabi nila, kapag nagdo-drawing ka or nagpe-paint ka, it is very important to take note of the proportion. Dapat sakto yung pagkakalagay mo, dapat sakto yung size kasi magbumukha daw siyang less realistic or di makatotohanan or abstracted. Ayun. And harmony, and alternatively, artists can use proportion for effect. Ayun. So the next one would be the clarity. So it should clearly radiate intelligibility, the logic of its inner being, and impress this knowledge of itself on the mind of the perceiver. So clarity, it means it needs to be clear. It radiates what it needs to be radiated, and the logic dapat may express, dapat nakikita, or kung ano man yung gusto niyang ibigay doon na knowledge sa viewer or doon sa audience, dapat na ilalabas, dapat klaro. So, that's all for the philosophical importance of art. So, like what I said, we have three philosophical importance of art. So the first one is the integrity, the second is the proportion, and the last is the integrity. So now, let's proceed to the philosophical perspective of art. O, di ba? Bukod sa philosophical importance, meron pa tayong philosophical perspective of art that will be going to discuss by Louis D. Paul.
Philosophical perspective on art. And now, we are done with the functions, and we are going to move on the philosophical perspective on art, starting up with art as an imitation. But first, what is imitation? Imitation is the action of using someone or something as a model or a thing intended to simulate or copy something else. Most artists nowadays, the writers, painters, sculptures, and every artist, they drew inspiration to some arts that are already present or created by some artists, and sometimes they tend to imitate it. So, according to Plato, in his work The Republic, paints a picture of artists as imitator and art as mere imitation. Kaya, kapag sinabi nating imitation, it is more of inspiration in creating the whole art. In his description of the ideal republic, Plato advises against the inclusion of art as a subject in the curriculum and the banning of artists in the republic. But again, in his work From in Metaphysics or View of Reality, the things in this world are only copies of the original, the eternal, and the true entities that can only be found in the world of forms. For example, the chair that sits on a real chair. It is an imperfect copy of the perfect chair in the world of forms. And that is according to Plato. Ang lahat ng ating nakikita ngayon are just mere imitations on his world of forms of reality. Plato was convinced that artists merely reinforced the belief in copies and discouraged men to reach for the real entities in the world of forms. And according to Plato, there are actually two worlds. Number one is the Republic, where everything is just an imitation from the world of forms. Plato was deeply suspicious of arts and artists for two reasons. They appealed to the emotion rather than the rational faculty of men. They imitate rather than lead to reality. That's why it is very suspicious about the arts and the artists because they appeal more on emotions. At katulad na lang din ng kapag tayo ay nakakarinig ng sad music or a happy music, it really affects our emotions. At sa tuwing may nakita naman tayong tao na sumasayaw ng K-pop song, I would tend to actually imitate them as well. Imitate rather than to lead to reality, because why imitate if you can provide a real representation, a real copy of the actual object, and that's according to Plato. Art then is to be banished alongside the practitioners so that the attitudes and actions of the members of the republic will not be corrupted by the influence of the arts. For Plato, art is dangerous because it provides a pretty replacement for the real entities that can only be attained through reasons. Welcome to the Art Gallery Museum. At may papakita ko sa inyong isang painting na halimbawa sa ating na-discuss kanina. Kaya, tara! Be ready at makita at matutunan kung anong painting ito. Wow! Ooh! Girl with a pearl earring, all painting on canvas by Dutch artist Johannes Vermeer, one of his most well-known works. And now, there is another perspective of what an art is. Art as a representation, that is what I mentioned earlier. Imitation is the actual copy. You imitate everything like pirating. So another one art is a art representation. Aristotle agreed with Plato that art is a form of imitation. However, Aristotle considered art as aid to philosophy in revealing the truth. The kind of imitation that art does is not. Unlike Plato, who thought that art is an imitation of another imitation, Aristotle conceived art as representing possible version of reality. Kung si Plato kanina ay sinabi niya na imitation as copycat from its copycat, Aristotle said that it's a representation from the possible version of reality. It's like different reality. For Aristotle, all kinds of art do not aim to represent reality as it is. It endeavors to provide a version of reality, and according to Aristotle, it's just a representation of what a certain reality would look like. For example, you draw nature. When you do your art, of course, you get the inspiration of it from the things that you see around you. That is what Aristotle would want us to know, that art is just a representation of the actual reality, not an imitation from the imitation. Although he agreed with Plato, but he just made his own idea, and he said, yes, it may be an imitation, but it's a representation of the reality. In Aristotelian worldview, art serves two particular purposes. Art allows for the experience pleasure, and also art has an ability to be instructive and teach. And yes, I would agree, because sometimes if you're actually watching a movie or in the museum, it somehow teach us about life. Your philosophy, anything, it would be really teach if you would just allow yourself to dig deeper into the actual concept of that specific artwork. Wow! Another art gallery! Ang ganda! Oh! This painting is Geneva da Vinci by Leonardo da Vinci. It's one of the first known three-quarter view portraits in Italian art. And now, we are done with art as an imitation and representation. And now, let's talk about the art as a disinterest judgment, or disinterest or not interested. So, the philosopher we have here is Immanuel Kant. When Immanuel Kant, in his Critique of Judgment, considered the judgment of beauty the cornerstone of art as a something that can be universal, despite its subjectivity. When we say subjective, because the interpretation, it really depends on the actual, not just the artist, but also the audience. The interpretation of the artist might be different from what the actual audience actually perceive. That's why it is subjective. Kant recognized that judgment of beauty is subjective. However, even subjective judgments are based on some universal. How and in what sense can a judgment of beauty, which ordinarily is considered to be a subjective feeling, be considered objective? That actual the challenge of Immanuel Kant as an art, as a disinterest judgment, because some people could actually find an abstract that something is very beautiful, but for me, not, because abstract for me is somehow confusing and difficult to understand. And it really depends on what the people see. In art as disinterest, the question that you have to remember here is on how and in what sense can a judgment of beauty, which is ordinarily considered to be subjective feeling or universal. Art is a communication of emotion. According to Leo Tolstoy, art plays a huge role in communication to its audience emotion that the artist previously experienced. In the same language that communicates information to other people, art communicates emotion. And also, art as a communication of emotion, it appeals really into our emotions. It communicates the emotion of the artist to its audience, just like the composer of the song to its listener. In the same language, it communicates information to other people as art communicate emotions. If the artists are sad, through his artwork, we also felt sad. And if he is happy through his artwork, we felt happy. And also, art as a communication of emotion because it is a unique opportunity to serve as a mechanism for social unity. And also, art is a central to man's existence because it makes accessible feelings and emotion to people.
So we have here the sneak peek of our activity later on. So I will going to discuss first, then I'll go to explain it later on. So, okay, so let's proceed to the subject of art. So when we say subject, it is the basic idea that is contained in the artwork. So, subject of art, the term subject in art refers to the main idea that is represented in the artwork. Kagaya nga sinabi ko, main idea or the basic idea or it is the essence of the piece, diba? So, it is the matter to be described or to be portrayed by the artist. So, this may refer to the person, object, scene, or event. So, yun nga, main essence, main idea of an artwork, it is a subject of art. So it may either be person daw, events, or the objects, and also animals, diba? Okay, so next one, to determine subject matter in a particular piece of art, ask yourself, diba kapag nakakita tayo ng isang artwork or naman kaya painting, napapatanong kagad tayo sa relative, diba? What is actually depicted in the artwork? Yun. Ano nga ba yung pinapakita ng isang artwork na yun, di ba? Parang, ano ba to? Masaya ba to? Or may something ba dito? Or it includes ba the past experiences of an artist? Kung ano yung pinapakita ng isang artwork na yun. So, what is actually depicted in this artwork? So, the next one, what is the artist trying to express to the world? So, ano yung gusto niyang iparamdam sa atin, sa viewers niya, or sa mundo, diba? So, the next is, what is his or her message? So, ano yung mensahe ng artwork niya or ng piece niya, diba? Kasi minsan kapag nag-analyze tayo ng isang gawa ng artist, painting man yan, or mga literary works, diba? That, at the end of the day, tatanungin tayo kung ano yung message, kung ano yung main or yung main point or the theme ng isang work na yun, di ba? Or artwork. And how are they conveying that message? So, paano nila naipapadala yung message na yun sa atin? Through what? Of course, di ba? Piece of art or the artwork itself. So, here's are the questions that we ask in ourselves when we've seen or kung nakakita tayo ng isang artwork. Okay, so we have here two kinds of arts as to subject. So the first one would be representational or objective art. So when we say representational or objective art, it depicts objects that are commonly recognized by most people, attempt to copy what is real or portray the subject as it is, and uses form and are concerned with what is to be depicted. So when we say representational, ito yung, or in a simpler meaning, it represents objects or it has objects, it has subject, it has meaning, di ba? Nandun na, nakikita mo kagad, na pinapakita na kagad ng isang artwork na yun, kung ano yung gusto niyang ipakita sa viewers niya or dun sa audience niya. And the second one would be the non-representational art. So, or non-objective art. So, kabaliktaran ng representational is the non-representational. So, without any reference or recognizable objects, abstract does not represent real objects and uses content and is concerned with how the artwork is depicted. So, eto nga, kabaliktaran ng representational. Eto namang non-representational, it has no subject or meaning. Diba? Kasi kung ang representational nga may subject at may meaning and also there's a real object na nakikita mo, dito naman sa non-representational wala. Hindi mo siya ma-recognize. Diba? So parang, yun nga, it was only derived from the artist's instinct or the viewer's interpretation. It is devoid of any reference to the natural world. So wala kang makikita kundi mga shapes lang, di ba? Or mga lines dyan because hindi siya nagpapakita ng reality or yun. Or wala siya masyadong realism because parang it exhibits emotional content or yung exaggerated emotionalism ng isang artist. Kung ano yung gusto niyang ipabatid sa kanyang viewers or sa tao. So, the next one is the artist and his choice. Okay, di ba? May mga choices din naman ng artist. They have their freedom to choose kung ano yung gagawin nila, kung ano yung magiging subject nila, kung ano yung maging ang gagamitin nilang mga raw materials or medium. Ayan. So, first one, everything under the sun is raw material for the artist to draw his subject. Ayun, lahat ng okay. Everything under the sun, lahat na makita ng artist na yun, pwede niyang maging subject. Pwede siyang technology, nature, it depends on the medium na gagamitin niya. And the artist's choice of subject is usually affected by his medium. Okay? So, although may yung choice of subject ng artist na yon, whatever subject an artist chooses, his choice involves some personal statement. So kung ano man yung piliin yung subject na yun, it involves his own personal statement or opinion. And also, kapag nagagawa siya, kung ano man yung choice ng subject na yun, it was affected by the medium nga or ng mga materials na gagamitin niya. Diba? So the last one is the piece of art depends largely upon the time in which he lives. So, pwede siyang nung past, pwede siya ngayong nasa modern or yun na, nasa present, diba? So, yun. So, the next one is the sources of subject. So, we have 5 sources of subject. So, the first one is the nature. So, most common inspiration and subject. Ayun, most common daw. Like animals, people, landscapes. So, these are the most common inspiration and subject matter of art. So, kasi kung kahit anong mga makikita ng mga artist na sa paligid niya, na that is part of nature, di ba? That is nature. Ayun, pwede niyang gawing as subject. Yun. Next one is history. So, it includes historical people, events, or periods. Kaya may mga nakikita tayong mga artworks or mga paintings na dati pag ginawa nung parang nire-represent noon or dinidepict noon kung ano yung or pinapakita noon kung ano yung nangyari nung nakaraan na yun kasi nga like for example the Spolarium, di ba? So next one is the Greek and Roman mythology. So myths are definite parts of inheritance. So these are the gods and goddesses, and it also centers the deities and the heroes. Ayun. So the next one is religion. Religion or Judeo-Christian tradition. So anything that represents spiritual beliefs and doctrines. So pwedeng, kasi religion and art, like for example, yung sa Bible, di ba? Mga ritual texts, mga ganun. Ayan. So, part siya ng dun sa may religion na yun. So, the last one is the sacred oriental texts, like sacred texts of Hinduism, Buddhism, Taoism, Confucianism, Jainism, Zoroastrianism, and Islam. So, ito yung mga mga Veda, yung Bible nila. Tapos yung kung ano mang mga nakikita nating mga texts na nakalagay sa scroll or di naman kaya sa tablet. Ayun. So those are the sources of subject of art. Ayan. So let's proceed to the kinds of subjects. So the first one would be the landscape, seascapes, and cityscape. So, ayan, familiar tayo sa mga ganyan because artists have always been fascinated with the physical environment. So, kung ano yung nakikita nilang sceneries dyan, like, yun nga, sa landscape, cityscape, pwede nilang gawing subject yon, di ba? Sa paggawa. Kaya nga may mga paintings tayo, kahit naman hindi tayo masyadong marunong, basta makapagawa lang tayo ng mga buildings dyan, di ba? Makikita yung overview ng city, mga ganyan. And also, we have a very well-known for having a romanticized physical net. We have we also have an artist that is very well known for having romanticized Philippine landscape, which is si Fernando Amorsolo. Ayan. So next is still life and animate objects arranged in indoor setting. So ito, still life, ito yung mga objects talaga na parang, kasi totoo talaga siya mga objects na makikita ninyo sa isang artwork. Kasi nga, the arrangement is like that to show a particular human interest or activities. Parang ganun. So yung mga paintings na may mga flower vase, may mga pagkain, kung ano man yan, yun ay yung mga tatawag nating still life. So next one is the portrait. So it is the realistic likeness of a person. So the attire, the accessories are very much expressive because they reveal so much of the person and his or her time. So ito daw yung portrait na to. It contains face, of course. It has the characteristics of that person na pinaggayahan or pinortray niya, 'di ba? So it doesn't have to be beautiful, but it has to be truthful. Diba? Hindi man siya kagandahan, pero totoo siya. Ayan. And we have the example of Mona Lisa. Diba? We have a portrait of Mona Lisa nga from the Italian contraction of Mona, which is Madam, no? So, pag ina natin sa English, Madam Lisa, kasi sinasabi daw doon ay, ito daw yung parang, it is identified to be to depict Lisa Gherardini, the wife of Francesco del Giocondo. Ayun. So, yung Mona Lisa, yung famous artwork ni Da Vinci. Okay, so the next one would be figures. It could be nude or clothed. So, Greek's physical beauty was the symbol of moral and spiritual perfection. So, yun nga, the sculpture's chief subject has traditionally been the human body, or it can nude man or clothed. Yun, nude man or clothed. So, yun nga, yung pinaka parang medium or yung parang pinaggagayahan ng mga sculptures talaga na kapag naggagawa sila ng artwork nila is the human body. Kaya ang pinaka dito is yung sa mga Greek mythologies, di ba? So the body forms, the structure, and the flexibility offer the artist a big challenge to depict in a variety of ways. Yan, masyado siyang challenging kasi kailangan mo yung body structure di ba? And also the form ng katawan. Kaya, 'di ba, sila yung pinaka parang famous sa paggawa ng mga sculptures or mga statue ng mga gods and goddesses. Because to Greek, physical beauty was the symbol of moral and spiritual perfection. So thus, they portrayed their gods and goddesses as possessing perfect human shape. Ayan. So like for example, si Venus de Milo, di ba? De Milo. Ayan. Yung nabanggit ni Sir nung nag-lesson siya, nung last week ba yun? Ayun. So next would be everyday life. Yun, everyday life. Ito yung life around the artist or the actual setting. Like for example, the children playing life, and then the life at park. So when we say everyday life, ito na yung mga nakikita ng isang artist sa paligid niya, kung ano yung kaganapan sa paligid niya or sa environment niya, di ba? So, artists have always shown a deep concern about life around them. So, kapag gusto ng artist na yun i-paint kung ano yung nakita niya, like kunwari, naglalarong bata, di naman kaya, nagtatanim, nagluluto, mga ganun, pwede niyang i-paint yun because it is part of everyday life nga daw as a subject. Diba? So, many of them have recorded in paintings their own observation of people going about their usual ways and performing their usual tasks. Ayun. Next one would be history and legends. So, history consists of verifiable facts. History and legends are unverifiable, but they have been accepted as true. So, history is not chismis because it consists of verifiable facts. Ayun. So, kung sinasabi niyo man na history is chismis, ewan ko lang sa inyo. So, yun. So, history and legends are popular subjects of arts. Kasi kita naman natin sa mga paintings, 'di ba? Sa mga famous painters or artists na yan na yung yung content ng kanilang artwork ay based on kung ano yung nangyari nung nakaraan. Diba? And legends, yung mga kwento tungkol mga literary works tungkol kala Malakas at Maganda, Maria Makiling, diba? So these are among the legendary subjects which have been rendered in painting and sculpture by not a few Filipino artists. So, next is the religion and mythology. So, art is handmade of religion. So, art has always been handmaiden of religion. So, most of the world's religions have used the arts to aid in worship, to instruct, to inspire feelings of devotion, and to impress and convert non-believers. So, art daw, naging partner na to ng religion. Kasi, paano mo nga naman malalaman or masasabi na may religion kung walang pinapakitang evidence. Like for example, yung art nila, yung sa mga mosaic, di ba? Mga pictures, mga murals, yung mga stained glass windows, and also the Bible, di ba? Yung mga pinapakita nila yun. Okay, so last is the dreams and fantasy, mostly used by surrealist painters. So, dreams are usually vague and illogical, diba? Unclear, lacking of sense, hindi mo pa masyadong maiintindihan kasi nga dreams and fantasies parang wala pa siya masyadong pinapakitang katotohanan, parang more of an imagination mo lang, ganon. So a dream may be a lifelike situation, diba? Kapag minsan nanaginip tayo, ganon, nangyari sa totoong buhay, ganyan. And also, no limits can be imposed on an artist's imagination. Kung gusto niyang subject yung mga gumawa ng mga ganang yung subject niya, dreams and fantasy, walang limit doon kasi nga imagination mo unlimited. Dreamstick. Yan. So, kidding aside, joke lang po yun. So, sana hindi kayo na-bored habang nasa discussion na. Okay, so that would be all for subject of art, sources of subject of art, and kinds of subject of art. Ay, dagdag ko lang pala sa kinds of subject, yung animals. Bakit? Kasi meron naman tayong mga artists na kapag nagagawa sila ng artwork nila, it contains animals because they have been represented by artists from almost every age and place. So, in fact nga, nung sinoon ng panahon, di ba, may mga nakaukit doon or may mga naka-carve na mga paintings doon sa my cave. Tapos yung nila is yung mga animals na. So, the earliest known paintings are representations of animals on the walls of caves. Ayan. So that will be all for my topic. So now let's proceed to the content of art.
Ayun guys, no, nasa last topic na tayo at sobrang nagpapasalamat ako dahil tinapos niyo hanggang dulo, no? To further daldal pa, our last topic for today is content of art, no? So, kanina, diniscuss ni Miss Nicole Franz na ang subject of art, ito yung main of ideas, basic idea, or the main essence of artwork, no? Yung content of art naman, ito yung the message or the meaning, kung ano yung gustong iparating ng isang artist sa atin, no? And we have the mass of ideas that associated with each artwork and communicated through the following. So the first one is the art's imagery. When we say imagery or image comes from the originally referred to physical things, diba? So, kung ano yung nakikita ng tao, kung ano yung gustong i-present ng art na yun, it can be considered as a art imagery. So, the second one is a symbolic meaning. Of course, symbolic meaning, kapag sa artwork, we will use symbolism. May symbols tayong ginagamit, so that will be the symbolic meaning, literal, no? Symbolic meaning, parang kung ano yung gustong iparating, kung ano yung mga nakapaloob, may nakapaloob sa artwork na yun, na i-consider natin symbols. It gives a symbolic meaning. Next, mabilis ba ang lyrics? Kasi bagalan natin. So next, it is surroundings, where it is used or displayed, o diba, kung saan siya nakalagay or doon mo siya madi-distinguish yung isang artwork na nakalagay sa museum. Kasi nga, historical value siya. Kaya doon siya nailagay. So, the other one is the customs, beliefs, and values of the culture that uses it. Kapag nagkagawa tayo ng isang artwork, we relate it to our culture, no? Or to our values and beliefs. This idea kasi, we related it kasi gusto natin ipakita na kung sa isang artwork na yon, nandun yung culture na maipapakita natin sa kanila. Or maiko-convey, no, sa mga viewers natin na ito ang culture namin o natin. Kaya ito yung gusto kong iparating o ipakita o i-present sa mga tao. So, the last is writings that help explain the work. So, writings, yung mga pinapabasa or nababasa ng mga tao kung ano ba ang meron sa artwork na yun. Diba? Para ma-explain kung ano ba meron doon. Kaya nga, pag pumupunta tayo sa isang art exhibit, yung mga nakalagay doon sa description sa baba ng isang artwork. No? So, next. Pagdating naman sa interpretation o pag-uunawa sa isang artwork, we're talking about the 3 levels of meaning according to Clever 1966. So, first is factual meaning. Ano nga ba yung factual meaning? It is a literal statement or narrative content that easily understood because the elements presented is easily recognized, no? Napakadaling ma-recognize, no? O nakikita o napapansin sa isang artwork agad, no? And the other one is conventional meaning. Refers to the special meaning that a certain object or color has a particular culture or group of people, no? masasabi nating conventional meaning ito yung meron ng isang tao or isang nation or society, parang gusto niyang ipapadip dito na, like for example, yung flag natin, no? Flag ng Pilipinas. It is the symbol of nation, di ba? So ayun, tinatawag siyang conventional meaning kasi it refers it refers na pinapakita sa kanya special, meaning ng certain na yon, bagay na yon. No? Hindi lang sa napaka-special or very important na bagay ang flag na yon sa tao kasi it will serve as the symbol that there are that uh, that pure Filipino sila, pure Filipino, that they are part of the nation or that society or that country, no? And another one example is cross, no? Nakikita natin sa simbahan. It symbolizes the Christianity, no? Kapag mayroong isang simbahan na yun or isang lugar isang tao na yun, it symbolizes that he or she is a Christian, no? Also, we're going to the last meaning. It is subjective meaning. Meaning, yung idea or yung feelings niya or emotions or thinking na ina-express niya consciously and unconsciously. Kaya nga, iba yung interpretasyon natin, no? Interpretasyon ng mga ibang tao pagdating sa artwork, no? Ng isang artist. Kasi, yung consciously na express ng isang artist, yun yung recognizable sa artist na yun. Yung unconsciously naman, ito yung nare-recognize ng viewer. Diba? Ayun, papansin nyo yan. Then, kaya parang sinasabi nila na, ay, ganyan yung pino-convey niya. Masaya, pero sa kabaligtaran, hindi pala. Diba? Parang ganon. Hindi nila alam ang alam at hindi nila alam. O diba? Hindi nila guess. Ang emotion, baga, diba? Kumbaga, ang alam ninyo at hindi nyo alam. Diba? Yan, mas nag-gets nila. Na parang it serves as symbolism dun sa ginagawa niyang artwork. He or she is expressing her action, the action or the past experience that had happened to her or to him. Kaya siya subjective. It is a personal or personally coming from the artist, no? O, nagigets na ba? O, diba? To sum up, ano nga ulit yung content of art? Sige nga, ano ko dyan? What is the content of art? Sige nga, sagutin nyo. Kung naintindihin nyo ba, mabilis ba ang discussion? Okay. So, ito, to sum up nga, content of art, it is the message or the meaning kung ano yung gusto iparating ng isang artist, diba? Kung ano yung gusto iparating niya, no? And the second one is we have mass of ideas that associated with each artwork and communicated. First one is the art's imagery. 2, a symbolic meaning. 3, its surroundings where it is used or displayed. And the fourth is the customs, beliefs, and values or the culture that you see. And the last is writings that help explain the work. And the last is we have 3 levels of meaning. Sige nga, according to levels. Sige nga kung ano yun, isipin nyo ano yun. Sige nga, magsalita kayo dyan. Sige, sagutin nyo nga, ano yung 3 levels of meaning according to level. Okay, correct. So, first is factual meaning. So, ibig sabihin, the content is easily understood. No? The second one is conventional meaning. Ibig sabihin, a certain object or color that has a particular culture or group of people. And the last one is subjective meaning. Ibig sabihin, idea or yung feelings niya or emotion or thinking na ina-express niya consciously and unconsciously. If you get it. Okay. So, for the sum up, I hope na naintindihan niyo yun. And so, I hope na naintindihan yung mga diniscuss namin ng mga kagrupo ko. At sana nagustuhan nyo ang aming art gallery exhibit. And narito ang mga ginamit naming reference sa aming report, no? And stay put muna kayo dyan. Kasi meron kaming activity na hinanda at i-explain ni Ma'am Nicole Franz kung ano ang gagawin nyo. So, dagdag ko lang din, no? Pagkatapos nyo magpasa ng activity sa kanya, mag-send ng panda emoji. No? Papakita. Panda emoji sa GC natin na it will represent na nagpasa kayo. Okay? No? Sana panoorin yung explanation dahil ang napaka-importante nyo. Okay. Thank you and bye-bye!
Okay, so now let's discuss or explain ko na sa inyo kung ano yung magiging activity ninyo. So we have here, so here's, ito yung magiging activity ninyo. So we have here a painting, diba? An artwork. So write a brief assumption about the meaning or the main idea of the artwork. So the artwork is called Afternoon Meal of the Rice Workers by Fernando Amorsolo. And also make a list of everything that comes into your mind when you look at the painting from all angles. Ayan. So, ayan yung activity ninyo. And bukod pa sa activity, meron tayong quiz. So, deadline ay i-announce na lang sa GC. So, yun. So, saan po ilalagay itong activity? So, ilalagay siya sa Word. Then, i-PDF ninyo and i-PM nyo sa akin. So, send it through PM. So, alam niyo naman yung Facebook account ko. So, i-PM nyo na lang sa akin yung gawa ninyo. Then, kung sino man yung first 3 na makakapag-send sa akin, diba? First 3 na makakapag-send sa akin will be exempted sa quiz. Ayan. So, dun ko malalaman kung pinanood nyo ba to or nakinig kayo or naiintindihan ninyo itong lesson na ito. Okay? So, as for the quiz, so ipopost na lang po namin kung kailan yung deadline ng quiz. Pero itong activity na to, siguro hanggang 11:59 p.m. today. Okay? So, that would be all. And thank you for watching and listening. And I hope that may natutunan kayo. Kung wala man ay ewan ko na lang. Okay? So, ayun lang. Thank you again. And goodbye and have a nice dinner. Okay? Bye-bye!